Let's take a look at course readings now. If you go on the syllabus and you click on course readings and resources, you'll be able to find the list of course readings organized by the required textbook and then additional readings. And the reason for this is that our required textbook is pretty much going to tell us what to evaluate, but it doesn't necessarily speak in detail about how to evaluate. So the required readings are going to provide us that information and a little bit more. And let's take a look at the textbook. It is divided into two parts. The first one and the shortest one is the required content, and it basically provides concepts and principles, guidelines, and techniques, but it's pretty much focused on what should we look at when we're looking at evaluating training programs. So this would pretty much provide the information about the what. And then the second part, which is the longest one, it's optional, completely optional, but it's full of examples on how to report evaluation. And it's going to be useful to take a look at it when you are working on your projects 2 and 3. So the additional readings, for the most part, are going to be available on the course website. If you click on readings, they're going to be organized by week, and those outside links to the library website. They are direct links from here, but if that doesn't work, go on the library website directly and do a database search, or go to eBrary or the ebook library from the library website, and you'll be able to find the books that are from there. And then a note about screen readers. One of the things that I found it helps me a lot when I have a lot to read is to actually listen to parts of the readings that I have assigned when I'm driving around, when I'm somewhere that I can't quite read traditionally, but I can listen to something. So on the iOS side, there's the voiceover, which is a feature that's already integrated into the phone. You just have to turn it on. On the Android side, there's Google Talkback, and it's also a feature, you just have to turn it on. From these two, I've actually found that voiceover for iOS is actually more flexible, more useful. The Google Talkback, at least the last few times that I used it, was a little bit not as useful as voiceover. Features were a little bit more limited. Voiceover could interpret many more types of PDF documents than Google Talkback. But regardless, you can give it a try and see how it works for you. And some tips when you're thinking of doing this: know the commands of the screen reader. The commands are going to change the way you interact with the screen, because now you're basically interacting with the screen as if you were a vision impaired person. So you want to know the commands so you know how to activate, deactivate, and how to move between pages and all of that. Know them first. Familiarize yourself with the chapter so you see the structure and visuals. Screen readers are not going to be great at interpreting visuals unless they are very well programmed and they have written descriptions. And then prepare the reading, obviously, before getting behind the wheel. Don't try to drive and find the article that you wanted to listen to. There are disadvantages. So you're going to be reading and listening to this as if you're listening to a radio talk show or news. So you can engage as much when you're listening to articles than you would be uh, when you're listening to a radio talk show. And the level of engagement means you'll be able to understand what's going on, not necessarily that, the articles are going to be as fun as maybe the morning show or the evening show. But that's the idea. You'll be able to get what you're listening to, except that obviously you're going to be daydreaming as much as if you're reading a book. So if you have lots of things in your mind, you'll notice that exactly what happens when you're reading a book, it's exactly what's going to happen when you're listening to a book. It only works well if the document is formatted appropriately. So there are documents that they never formatted as text, so you won't be able to see a thing or listen to anything. It also depends on the language, so you can change the language of the screen reader to match that other document. And then there are going to be difficulties understanding tables. So if a document has lots and lots of tables, be prepared to listen to a lot of things that will not make sense, or just leave that document for when you're comfortably sitting on a couch and you can actually go through the tables and understand them.